Come on. There we go. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Healing Project with Tina Rane. Tonight we have an awesome guest here on our show. She's going to share her story with us, how she endured a certain situation in her life, how she's still going through, and how she's making a change. I met Krissie. It's been a few years ago with my nonprofit. That's how I first met her personally. I've been watching her on Facebook before even meeting her in person. And our youth organization, she reached out to us for her son, CJ, to come and be a part of our program. And so CJ, one day I remember I had the kids to write a letter or write something that they can relate to. So CJ whipped something up real quick on a piece of paper, and he goes, I can rap it. I can rap it. I said, okay, let me hear you. So I said, let me hear you rap it. So he was like just flowing, and he had all the kids mesmerized. So all the children that was in our group that day was watching or listening to CJ. And I mean, has an amazing talent. So I'm not going to prolong any longer. We're going to allow Krissie to come on, and she's going to tell us who she is, what she is doing, and the floor is yours. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Krissie. I am the host of my own podcast, the GOAT podcast, and it's not like being cocky or anything like that, but it stands for great overall topics, because I'm very outspoken on a lot of things. So I'm kind of unfiltered. I have like respect, and certain things are off limits for me, but
Yes.
when it comes to giving my opinion and things like that, I'm very outspoken.
Yes.
And I've always wanted a podcast or just any platform to share my opinion. And I do have a lot of people that reach out to me for numerous things, like I'm not human almost. As you said, I've been through a lot of things, from childhood to my teenage years to adulthood. I'm a victor. That's what I call myself. I'm not a
That's
victim.
right. That's right.
I was molested as a child at 7 years old. I always tried to speak out about it. I didn't let it go on. I didn't feel like it was ever okay. It happened, but I always said something about it. But
Okay.
that's where I think my story came, is because it's happened in my family so long, for so many generations on generations, from the same man, and nothing has ever been done about it. But I've always known, the right things about you, the right way to go.
Right.
I always felt like something is wrong, and I would hear people gossip about it amongst the family, even
Okay.
as a child. Kids hear things even when we
Oh,
think they
yes.
don't see things. So I would
Mm.
hear the stories of other people, but I just never understood why nobody did anything about it. And so then when I was about 14 or 15, is when
Okay.
I never got over it. And I
Mm-hmm.
always felt like it was wrong. And I remember, like, the first time it happened, my dad was like about to be released from prison like in 3 days. And
Okay.
I've always been a daddy's girl. And I was told to not tell him, because
Mm-hmm.
they didn't want him to go back to prison. And so
Right.
I had kind of feared my dad going back to prison, because I didn't want him away from me.
Right.
But I always still wanted to tell him. So over the years, like growing up, I would always try to speak about it, always try to speak about it, to the point where now everyone felt like, oh, that happened so long ago. Like, leave it alone.
Mm.
Stop talking about that.
Mm.
Why you keep bringing that up? And I just never felt like it was right. So
Right.
I was, well, back in 2015, I was going through like a breakup, and I was just going through like a shift in my life with my kids and everything. And my childhood trauma was like a part of it. It had like really just opened me up to everything, because I was trying to find the right direction. And so
Right.
this, when I had involved in a new church, I left the church I grew up in, my family grew up in. I found my
Mm.
own church home. And I went there And it was just like, it was exactly what I needed. Like I had been to many churches, but I never was fed.
Oh,
And
good.
going there, even my kids, and it's hard. Kids are forced to go. My
Right.
kids wanted to be there. They were learning everything they needed to know. So it was really good for us. And with that, I was trying to heal. I was trying to find my own healing.
Okay.
And that's when I had decided I needed to have a conversation with my mom first, because
Right.
I always wanted to know why didn't you ever do anything? Like I told you, and
Mhm.
you never did anything. You never like took it to the law. You never
Right.
wanted to tell my dad or anything like that. And I
Mhm.
had to go through even this forgiveness with my mom. I had to
Mhm.
realize that she was also a victim, and she had never faced what she had been through. She was burying it, but
Okay.
I never wanted to go through that. So part of my healing was forgiving her.
Okay.
And I told her that I had wanted to talk to her parents because it was her stepfather, but
Mhm.
her mom also knew. You
Wow.
she Well, you told her each time it happened, you told her, and nothing was ever done. Uh,
Right.
she just passed away last year, and she was with that man to her demise. And it's like this
Um,
happened to your kids, your
yeah.
nieces, your so that can bother you as well. And
Right.
so
Absolutely.
with me healing, I knew that part of my healing was also going to be distancing myself from my family,
Okay.
because there's a lot of denial and shame, and they don't want to face the truth, even still to this day. So I it's certain family members that I deal with, but I don't have a relationship with my family because I choose me, and I
Right.
children, and it took a long time for me to decide this is what I have to do for me. Why should
Right.
I suffer just to say
Absolutely.
I have a family? But this is not a family, because we all hate each other pretty much. Like everybody hate each other. Everybody bickers and everything. So I'm like, I just rather be on my own and raise my children the way that I want them to be raised. Plus, like
Right.
I never wanted my kids to be around him.
Mhm. Mhm.
Boys, I never wanted them, like I was super protective, and me and my mom would get into arguments when she would have them on the weekends and things like that. I was
Right.
really strict, like don't take them over there, because there
Okay.
were times y'all were there. We were at family gatherings and things like
Mhm.
that. And he still did it when, like, he still tried to do things when he could
Wow.
catch you alone. You go to the bathroom, little things like that. So I just was like, I'm gonna do everything in my might to keep that from my kids. So
Right. Right.
that was one thing. And then I had started my Have the Courage to Tell Foundation for not just children, but
Mhm.
any victims of molestation, and those that, because a lot of times victims don't have the courage to speak out.
Right.
And this
Absolutely.
is why, because they're shamed, they're exiled, all of those things. So when I did it, I was simply telling my story. So I never got to have the conversation with them.
Mhm.
She said they never wanted to talk to me or anything like that. So I had wrote him a letter.
Okay.
I
Okay.
wrote him a letter, and I was gonna mail it, but I didn't want him to say it got lost in the mail. He never got
Right.
it or anything like that. So I delivered it to their door. But
Oh.
after I delivered it to their door, I had got a copy made, and well, I had pinned it. This is like 2015, so I had pinned it to Facebook
Uh-huh.
and my blog site, and
Okay.
it just kind of it just exploded like
Oh.
everywhere. Like I posted it like this time in the evening,
Okay.
and the next morning I woke up and I had so many notifications
Wow.
from people on my page, people
Mhm.
I didn't know, my
Mhm.
family, of course, they were cursing me out and everything. Um, but a lot of people had reached out to me, and
Okay.
even men had reached out to me and told
Mm.
their stories. And that's when I realized, like, okay, I'm trying to heal myself
Right. Right.
and others. So that's when I took it a step further. And like back then, I wanted to start a podcast, but I was scared. I always
Mhm.
felt like I needed somebody to do it with me, because
Right.
I wanted to do public speaking. I want to talk to the youth and things like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so it took until most recent for me to branch off and really do it on my own.
Yes.
Everything I do now is because of my son.
Okay.
Because he always told me how courageous I was. And he always told
Mhm.
me how proud of me he was for speaking out, for being a teenage mom. I was a teenage mom. I had him at 15. I had
Okay.
my second son at 17.
Okay.
And I've had the help of his dad. His dad helped me raise him and his brother,
Okay.
but I was always a single mom at the same time. I got married at 17 and I was divorced at 18,
Okay.
because he was abusive, and I was never okay with that. Um, so I went through a lot. I've been in abusive relationships. I fought my way out of those. And
Mhm.
then most recently in 2020, as you know, March 28th of 2020, my son was gunned down.
Yes.
And that changed everything,
Yes.
everything.
Yes.
I took a break from everything. I had just started this job that I had been trying to get for so long. I had just started my job like almost 2 months in when
Mm-hmm.
my son was murdered. And so I ended up losing my job. I
Wow.
was off of work for 2.5 years. I just went back. I just made my year anniversary on my job in July.
Okay.
Um, but during that time, I just had time to really thank God it was COVID and everything like that. It was a
Right.
lot going on. It was a lot of help and things like that, because I don't know how I would have maintained
Yeah.
without, look at his baby trying to get in the
Look at
camera.
her. I see her. I see her. Them eyes. Them eyes.
And
That's
so
nice.
um, that's my
Look
blessing.
at her.
She know I'm recorded, and she just trying to creep and creep and creep because
She
she knows.
want to get her 5 minutes in too.
Um, but so, and I've had time to be with her. I've had
Good,
time to
good,
be
good,
with
good, good.
my daughter. I work from home. I do my
Okay.
podcast from home and
Okay.
everything. Um, and I just like, this is my venting space. I
Mm.
vent, but I also try to help people
Okay.
because for some reason when you go through a lot, it helps everybody. You feel like it's not helping you, but it helps
Right.
everyone else.
Yes.
One thing that bothered me a lot is I when I would get the question, how are you so strong?
Mm.
And it's like, I mean, I know I do hold up well. I know I do
You
shield
do.
my pain and things like that. But
Yes.
I go through a lot. And it would be frustrating because people swear I'm just so strong and they don't take the time to be like, are you okay? How are
Mm.
you holding
Mm.
up or anything like that? It's just
Right.
always, you're so strong. How do you do it? How do you this or that? Even it's just so sad. I'm just talking and talking and talking.
Yeah, it's
Cut me off.
okay. Now
Um,
let's
but
go back. Let's
it
go back
also
to.
bothered me
Go ahead.
how I think I'm just now starting to transition to or accept
Mm-hmm.
when other mothers reach out to me that have
Okay.
lost their children, because I'm like, I still struggle. Like yesterday, this past weekend, well, we just did a gun violence
Okay.
awareness walk. I'm
Yes.
always involved in anything that has to do with gun violence prevention or anything like that.
Yes.
And I think around those times, my body just knows it just does something. And so I go through a lot of depression. I
Okay.
try to fight that because I don't want it to take over me. But a lot of people send people my way like, you should talk to her, she can help you. And I'm just like, no, I can't. I'm trying to help myself. Like I just go with the flow. I don't know how I stay afloat because it's hard.
Yeah, I
It's
bet. And let's go back to the beginning where you started talking about uh, the molestation when you was younger. So now that you have gotten the courage to speak out when you gotten older,
Mhm.
now, and you said you woke up to a lot of notifications in your inbox for posting that letter.
Yes.
How did you? I mean, how do you feel? Because I know a lot of people were like family, and I know you're a family individual. So knowing that your family, that you're not, that you guys really don't engage like a family, how does that really affect you as an individual and as a mother? How does that really affect you?
It bothered me. I'm human. So
Right.
of course it sucks because I'm, like you said, I'm family oriented, and
Right.
I would love to have a big family. I would love to do the holidays and all of those things.
Right.
And then I think it bothered me most because my kids. I
Yes.
was okay, but it affected my kids as well because they have a lot of cousins that are their
Mhm.
age, and they kind of grew up with each other. Like the adults were at it all the time, but the kids, they love each other like
Right.
normal.
Right.
So that bothered me because there would be those times, like my oldest two, they knew
Hmm.
and they understood, but after a couple years they were like, dang, like it's boring not being able to be around our family or this or
Right.
that. And personally, I was never like, only two people that they could not, whose home they couldn't go to, was my mother's parents. But
Right.
anyone else, I didn't care. I didn't feel like, oh, y'all not allowed around those kids, or keep y'all kids away from, like, I've never done that. But
Okay.
you'd be surprised how many people felt like these Krissie kids. So y'all part of her, and that's
Right.
crazy. But it bothered me. And I would say at times it's like I said, I want the family, but I
Right.
just know that I'm healthier without the family.
Mm. And that's a big pill. And then to have the courage to be the one to break what has been kept silent for many years. And you had that courage to stand up and to say how you felt or what was going on, no matter what the circumstances may have been, no matter what the backlashes that you've been receiving. But you stood strong, flat footed, and then you took a stance. And a lot of times, a lot of individuals that go through these certain types of things don't have that voice. They
Mhm.
don't have that courage to or the strength to say, hey, this is what happened to me.
Right.
And so oftentimes, and like in our families, in our culture, I'll say that when stuff like that happened back in the day, we were told to be quiet, not to say anything, keep it hush
Exactly.
hush. But it ended up affecting our individuals, our men, our women. It ended up affecting them because now they're broken and all distorted. And so they don't know how to properly heal because they've been told to keep quiet, shut your mouth, don't you say nothing.
Mhm.
What happens in this house stays in this house, per se. So that was an issue in our culture.
Yeah.
But I want to commend you on having the courage to stand up. And not only that, your sons saw you, they saw you who you truly were to them, and for him to speak life into you, because that's what he did, and
Yeah.
told you, that you were courageous enough to stand up and say what you had to say. And I seen let's jump over. I'm going to be jumping from issue to issue. So I saw on your page that you did a gun walk.
Hmm.
So you said this is your very first one, correct?
No, I've been doing them since 2021.
Okay.
I'm a part of Moms Demand Action.
Okay.
That's national.
Hmm.
That's I think is it Sandy Duskins? Sandy, where all those kids were murdered at the school.
Which one? There's a whole lot. Which one?
The babies, the small kids. Sandy
um, Not the one in
Sandy
Texas.
Hook. Sandy Hook is what it's
Okay.
called.
Okay.
That I was getting it mixed up with my kids' elementary school. Um, that one of the mothers of those children, she started that. So
Okay.
once I decided I wanted to do something, I was doing my research online. So I found Moms Demand Action. I
Okay.
do, they have, June is a National Gun Violence Awareness.
Okay.
Every June, the whole month of June. So I wear, and it's, the color is orange, if you didn't know that.
Okay.
So I wear orange through the month of June, and they have a gathering. It's usually like June 2nd to the 6th, somewhere up in there on the weekend. And
Hmm.
then the one I did yesterday, that's where all of the funeral homes, the processionals,
Okay.
Embassy Church of Christ,
Okay.
they host that. Um, One of the young men, he's now into he works for Gideon, the
Okay.
funeral home,
Okay.
and he grew up in Second Baptist with me and my family, with my kids. He's my kid's age. He's CJ's friend. Uh,
Okay.
so he introduced me to that one. So I've been doing that one every year. Yesterday was their third year doing that. I met
Okay.
someone else there and she asked me if I was familiar with what they do. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
no. So she sent me their information. And
Okay.
then I've teamed with one of my friends. Her name is Johanna,
Okay.
and we do her grandmother also is a victim of gun violence. So
Wow.
last year we did we have it's called pick up a ball, put down the guns, pick up a ball. We
Okay.
do that every year. Normally it's in July. This year it's going to be in October. It's on October 29th this year. So we're
Okay.
going to do that when we have like a community basketball game for the kids and
Oh,
adults. It's like different divisions. And then we
wow.
have vendors and we speak. I speak. They always want me to be in the board, but we just, share our story and
Okay.
try to be a help, and also to keep our family members alive. Like that's why I really do it, to keep his name alive, because
Mm.
I feel like, or not feel, but his life was cut short. I feel like he was robbed. Uh,
Absolutely.
he had so much going on, and I know my son was going to be someone bigger than he was, and
Yeah.
he was robbed of that. So I
Mhm.
try to keep his legacy, his music, and everything that he was doing
Okay.
going.
Good, good, good. I remember when I seen I heard about it. I was actually living in Texas at the time, and I heard about it, and I was like, "Oh my God!" I said, "I know him. I know him." And then my friend was like, "Who are you talking about?" I said, I said, "The baby boy." I said, "This is horrible." And so ever since then, I had been following. I mean, I followed y'all before, and I
Right.
knew how close you guys were just by seeing your posts and stuff on Facebook, how you guys
Yeah.
played around and stuff like that. So y'all was like friends as well. So
Yeah.
I seen the closeness that you both had. But when I seen that, and it's like it hit home because I knew him. Not he wasn't in my program long, but he made an impact.
An impact on anybody that he
Yes.
came in
So
contact with.
he made that. So it was touching to me, and because it could have been one of my boys, because my youngest is around CJ's age, so it's like it really touched home for me. But then I seen how you, and I know you just said about people say you look strong, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I could never have done. I could never, be as
Right.
strong as you and do the things you're doing. I said I'd have been ready to wring necks and stuff like that. But I do want to commend you on taking that stance, speaking out for your son, going above and beyond and doing what you're supposed to do as a parent. And I followed like the cases been going on. And I know how you rallied up and how you got people together. His memorial was amazing. It was a beautiful memorial. He went out in style. But again, like you said, his life was robbed, all because of somebody's being jealous. So were you able to meet the accuser, the one that actually did? Were you able to see his face or their faces?
I've seen him briefly. It sucked because CJ passed away right when COVID hit,
Mm,
right
mm,
when COVID was going on. Um, so like whether it was a status check, whether it was a hearing, with these type of cases, they always get postponed and postponed again
right.
and again. And there's two defendants. So I spent a lot of time at the courthouse, even when they got to the point where they weren't allowing anyone in the courtroom. It was
Okay.
limited.
Okay.
I would still go. I would
Okay.
still show up for my baby, and I would have to watch on like a Zoom
Hmm.
meeting.
Hmm.
I would have to watch there. And so that's when I kind of got to see him. But I didn't officially get to see his face, or like for him to see me and me to see him,
Hmm.
until the sentencing
Okay.
on
Okay.
June 6th is when I first got to see him.
Okay. So did he ever come around the house? Was he like
No,
part of CJ? So he wasn't. No.
no.
Okay.
CJ didn't know him.
Um.
Unfortunately, a lot of people knew CJ. because of
Right.
his music, and
Right.
he was one of those popular kids. So a lot of people knew him, but he didn't know him.
Mm.
He knew people that CJ knew, and
Okay.
then the guy that drove him,
Mm-hmm.
they weren't friends, but I guess you can call them colleagues or whatever. He was a rapper also, so they
Okay.
were around the same scene. They've like performed at the same events a couple times and things like that, but they didn't have beef, but they didn't know each other like that. They just knew of
Yeah.
each other. So it was just one of those situations.
Yeah. So for the ones, I know a lot of us here in Vegas, a lot of us know the story, because we follow you. For the ones that are going to be tuning in or listening at a later time, could you, or do you feel comfortable just briefly just talking about how it happened, what happened, so that way they know, like they won't be out in the left field, so they know what had transpired to your son, like what happened to him.
So he was in a car with an associate. They were coming from like the newer North Las Vegas out that way.
Okay.
Um, and he was on his way home to his daughter and her mom. They had stopped for gas. So they got off on Lake Mead and they went to that gas station right there on Lake Mead and Losi.
Okay.
They went in the store and paid for the gas. When he came out of the store, he pumped the gas. He seen the car.
Mm-hmm.
From what his friend that was driving said, he seen the car. He
Mm-hmm.
was he was like a big Dodge fan, like Dodge Chargers and Challengers and Scat
Okay.
Packs and all of that. So like he'll recognize one of those from many a mile away, miles
Right.
away. So he seen it, and when he seen the car, his friend said he was like, "Did you just see that Challenger?" And it had like it came in the store, and
Mm-hmm.
then it exited the store. They never stopped. They exited the store.
Okay.
Um, they went back around. What happened is they parked across the street from the
Mm.
store on the
Okay.
other side of Lake Mead. They parked across the street where it was a black Challenger, so they probably didn't even see it. They
Right.
parked across the street.
Okay.
Um, he let the guy out the car and he ran across the street and behind the store. By this time, they got back in the car. They were driving to exit onto Lake Mead, and
Mm-hmm.
when it came to you got to yield to oncoming traffic. They
Right.
stopped right there, and that's when he just ran up to the car and ambushed it, and
Wow.
he shot him.
Wow.
I still honestly I don't know how many times. I never wanted the autopsy report. I wasn't ready for that.
Okay.
I don't even think I was ready for trial, but I waited around for trial. But we
Okay.
never made it there because he took a settlement. Um, but that's what happened. He ran off
Mm.
right across the street. They got in the car. They drove off. The guy that was driving the car that was transporting my son, he
Mhm.
panicked, and instead of him taking him to a hospital or something like that,
Right.
he drove over off of MLK and like right before Brooks in that
Okay.
area.
Okay.
He drove him over there, those newer houses over there. He
Mm-hmm.
drove him over there where his family or someone lived and called the police from there. But by the time they had got there, he was
Mm.
already gone.
Wow. Sorry to hear that. And knowing that he just became a father, um, so he didn't really get a chance to enjoy his daughter, nor was she able to enjoy her father. So how do you with her? How do you? And I know you do an amazing job, but how do you like show her her dad, like keep her dad alive with her, even though he's not here on Earth?
Well, I'm in my office slash studio right now.
Uh-huh.
There's pictures of him everywhere.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I have his clothing line.
Yeah.
She's very, even if we didn't complete strangers, that like it's hard for her to not know who her
Hmm.
dad was because of who he was. So she
Right.
knows exactly who he is. She
Oh,
knows
good. Good.
exactly what he looks like. She
Yes.
knows his name. Um,
Oh.
like I said, she knows his logo, and
Mhm.
She even knows like what he looks like from childhood. She knows like that's my
Okay.
dad. She knows his music, like
Okay. Good.
everything. Um, I don't know. I was just talking to her mom recently, and she was having a conversation with her friend. She
Okay.
reached like we she was a blessing to me. Like she replaced CJ. And she
Mm.
tells me that I replaced CJ for her. Like we co-parent
Mm.
with
Yeah.
um and she doesn't really have a relationship like that with her mom. So she reaches out to me for a lot of things. And
For
she was
sure.
telling me that she had got into an argument with one of her friends, and she
Hmm.
was telling her that she was ruining her basically because he's not here, and she's giving her false hope, and like she shouldn't even let her know who he is, and it kind of
What?
bothered her. um and I feel the complete opposite, because he did love her a lot.
Yeah.
He still loves her, and he just, he was just amazing. And
Yeah.
like you said, he left an impact in just that short period of time.
Right.
And she should know that. I feel like she should know exactly who her dad was. Even if her mom meets
Absolutely.
someone, marries, she should still know who her dad is. And
Absolutely.
like I said, I don't think she's ever going to be able to not know.
That's good. Well, she has his eyes. She
Yeah, his
she
whole out is yeah.
when I seen her on the picture, I was like, on Facebook, I said, oh, yeah, she has a daddy's eyes. She was like, but
She's a
it's a blessing that you are able to pour into her. Not only that, that you're able to stand for other individuals, being that's voice for other people.
yeah,
You don't really realize how many people's lives you can impact by
man,
standing up. When you stood up, you made a wave, and it was an impact, and you was fluctuated with notifications about different stories, people going through certain things. So that is a good thing,
yeah,
because oftentimes we hold in a lot of stuff. We don't like to release a lot of stuff.
yeah,
And in our culture, again, it was looked frowned upon about going to therapy or anything like that. You go to
mhm,
therapy, you weak, or you go to therapy, just some crazy negative talk.
yeah,
But again, even being surrounded around other people that can pour into you, like even when you feel that at that moment right there, where you feel you're missing your baby. And I know you miss him every day, but it's just when that certain moment when you get that feeling that somebody can either feel you or say, hey, or you can call them and say, hey, I'm not feeling good right now. I need, somebody can be able to pour into you and inspire you. Um, and that's good that you have. I know you and your mom, I'm glad that you guys were able to reconcile your relationship as a mother and daughter. And, a lot of times we as people don't realize what our parents go through either as children. So that
right,
took a lot of courage for you as well to see that and to notice that and then to forgive,
yeah,
because forgiveness is a hard pill. And I rather not. I know I'm not gonna forgive you. I just gonna hold on to it. But you were strong enough to say, okay, this is what it was. Okay, and then you went and you took the stance again and went and spoke to your mother's parents. So it takes a strong person to do that, to be able to speak up when, for one, your loved one was violated. Your mom was violated. She
yeah,
didn't have a voice back then. So you took that voice for her as well. You
yeah,
spoke up for her, not only for her, but for yourself. And I commend you on that as well. So if someone was listening right now and is experienced that same thing right now, that same trauma, what would you tell them?
what I always say is to speak out. It's hard. Um, it's hard to know that you're going to lose people that you've already always had an attachment to, but
Right.
it is okay to lose um, bad bad attachments to gain
Right.
new ones. Sometimes we hold on, like in relationships, we hold on so much to the wrong things that we don't
Yes.
allow what we need or what's good for us to come in. So I always say speak out. That's why I say have the courage to tell.
Yeah.
um, if people are telling you to not say anything at all, find
Mhm.
someone. um,
Right.
I am an advocate on therapy as well. Me and my mom go back and forth to this day because she tells me that I'm too open. But
Mhm.
that is what helps me. Being
Okay.
open, being transparent,
Yeah.
sharing my experiences. I'm not
Right.
ashamed of anything I go through. At certain times, if I'm dealing with something, it may
Mhm.
not be anyone's business. I don't
Right.
have to put everything out to the world. But when I have downfalls, this is
Mhm.
for anyone. When you have downfalls, you have to understand that we all have them. We
Absolutely.
all go through something at some point in our life. So
Yeah.
don't worry about what people are going to think, what they're going to say, because
Right.
people are going to say something whether you're doing exactly what they want you to do or whether you're not, whether you're doing the right thing or you're not, whether you're doing good or bad. People are always going to judge you. So why not live for you
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
let them judge you for you simply living for you? And of
Absolutely.
course, if you have children, your family. But don't ever hold it in. Holding things in will hold you back from a lot in life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good point. So, how did you turn your pain into purpose?
Like I said, just trying to find my own healing,
Mhm.
trying to heal myself, trying to fix myself.
Okay.
I just realized while I was helping myself, I was helping others. I would
Mhm.
always get those. You're so inspiring. I'm so glad you shared this. You gave me the courage.
Right. Right.
Even those in my family, they told me, like, I always wanted to do what you did, but I wasn't brave enough to do it.
Wow.
I knew that what happened to you would happen to me. And I wasn't like, they couldn't handle the rejection or
Okay.
going through all of those things. So when people would tell me that, and like I said, I've always been outspoken. People, I was respectful as a child, but people would always tell me, like, you just like your daddy. Cause my dad is just like outspoken.
For
Spoken.
real.
Yes. So I know for a fact that's what it is. But as I got older, I was able to speak. Like I said, I was a kid. I knew my place
Right.
as a child.
Right.
And as I got older and grew into my own person, my own woman, like now I'm
Mhm.
taking care of myself. I'm taking care of my kids.
Good.
Nobody,
Good.
I don't have
Good.
to
Good.
answer to anyone, but
Yes.
God. And this is what God is telling me to do. Like, it
Absolutely.
takes a lot of prayer and talks to Him. Sometimes I feel
Yeah.
like I'm talking to myself, but I be talking to God.
Yeah.
And really, that's it. That's it. When
Good.
people ask me, how do you do it?
Yes.
It's God, because I don't know how I do it, honestly.
Yes, yes, and you're absolutely right. And two, and I see how you, like I said, I've always watched you, how you are a family oriented individual, and I
Hmm.
see how, like, even with your baby girl, and she dances, I be watching that too. I mean, she probably like, you stalking me, girl, stop stalking me, but I see it because it does inspire me because oftentimes we think stuff that we go through is huge until we hear somebody else's story that is much larger than ours. And
Yes.
it makes you sit back and like, why am I complaining? That is nothing compared to what
Yes.
she's gone through. And you are a breath of fresh air because, again, the courage that you have had to have and how you had to maneuver and how you don't sit down. You're up and you're voicing your voice and you're speaking up for your son. And I see how you do many things, like even with the merch for him, his clothing line and stuff like that. I see how you do that. I see how you work that, and you always representing him and yes, you are a very, very outspoken person, but sometimes you have to be in order for somebody to listen to you. You have to say what you have to say. Hey, listen, enough is enough. But I'm glad that you're getting your voice. You have your voice. I'm glad that you're speaking out for him. Again, his life was robbed too soon. He's gone too soon, because I too believe that he would have been something big as well. Just by, even like I said, that little time frame that I've known him, I had to interact with him. He made a big impact on my life because just how somebody is so smart like that, that can actually just not even, it wasn't even 5 minutes, and he had the whole paper filled out. What he wrote, what he wrote, and then he was just
Yeah.
gone, gone. And I know when I sent that video to you, and you heard me my big mouth yelling, yeah, because because that's just how, I mean, impactful it was, and the lyrics that he written and then spoke out, and he reminded me of you too, because you speak out, and he was writing, things that
Yes.
he probably seen, and probably, probably saw some things, and he didn't like as well, so he put it in paper, and
Yes.
it's, it was very, 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 amazing for me to see him, in action, and I'm glad that you allowed me for that little time to be in his life, because he did, like I said, he did make an impact not only on myself but all the other young people that was there too, because they liked it. And even after the fact I cut the video off, they would say, how'd you do that, man? How'd you do that? And he was just interested. He said, I do that. I said, I rap. And
Yeah.
then to see him blow up like he did in a short period of time too. And I know you was his manager, and I know you was a cutthroat manager, boy. Because I see,
For
because
sure.
I see you stuff on Facebook. I don't mess with my son. Don't. That's that's somebody made him mad. but, but again, Chrissy, I want to say, I commend you a lot. I may not say things. I follow you on both on you're on TikTok. I see you on, on Facebook when you post your things. So I do watch. So don't ever think that what you are writing, or what you're saying, or what you're, are posting out, that is not affecting people, that people are not looking. A lot of people may not even like it. A lot of people may not even put a heart or respond to it. But just know that whatever you're putting out there, it's touching and it's affecting people. So keep doing what you're doing. Keep being that voice for people that don't even have a voice, because you're giving people a lifeline. When people want to give up and they hear your story, like, oh man, how did she make it? How did she do that? She went through this and she's still standing. So your story and your strength and your courage, your voice, it is for other people. Even though you've gone through it, and I know it hurts going through it, but you're giving somebody else power, because you are speaking things that they're not willing to speak or are afraid to speak. So
Yeah.
keep speaking, keep standing. And whenever you're out there, you're doing certain things like that, let me know. If I'm available, I don't have a problem coming out there. I'll throw an orange shirt on, I'll do whatever, let me know. Because like I said again, he did touch me when I had, when he was in my circle. So, and I do, and I respect you wholeheartedly, for doing the things that you do. So
Thank you.
again, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Yes.
you.
It
Those things, like, y'all don't know, when y'all tell me that, that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me going. Like, knowing that it
yes.
doesn't go unnoticed, or just, just the acknowledgement. It,
Yes.
it helps, because I'd be ready to give up a lot. But I just know I can't, because so many people look up to me, and then I have
Mhm.
my grandbaby and my baby. So
Yeah, yes, yes,
I
yes.
appreciate that a lot. I really do.
Absolutely, yes. Like I said, don't, let me know. Shoot me an inbox or something, like whenever you do something else, in the community, let me know. And I will, I'll support and come out and do some things. I know when you're doing a lot of things, I wasn't here in Vegas. I was in Texas, but I came back in January. So whenever you do here, let me know. And like I said, if I'm available, I'll let you know if I'm available. If I am, I'll be out there to support, you in the cause, because it is a great cause. Um, we do need to. This gun violence is going crazy. It's just out of this
Yeah.
world. Every time you look on the timeline, there's either somebody on the timeline, or you're
Yes.
watching it on the news, and there's a lot of our young people. It's like, y'all have to learn how to settle your differences in a different way, and then
Yes.
being jealous of somebody that, I mean, you're doing the same thing. So being jealous, learn from that individual. But again, it's a different breed nowadays. They're different. The way they think is a whole lot different than how
Yeah.
we was coming up. But again, like, before, back when we was growing up, it took a village, so everybody was in the mix. You know what I'm saying? Even before I got home, if I did something outside the house,
Yeah.
they they dealt with me
I was
because
just saying that because that's how I was raised. Like my mom used to say, if you see my kids doing something, get to them before I can. And then
right.
I'm the same way. I've never had a problem with anybody correcting my children at all.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah.
that's why that helped with their mannerism. They were kids. They,
Mhm.
they make mistakes and things like that. But that's how I am. And I've been kind of going through that recently because I'm in a blended family, and I
Okay.
have structure
Mhm.
here. And I guess, well, I wasn't. I have structure, but
Uh-huh.
my boyfriend's son went back
Mhm.
and said that I was being mean to him, and it
Uh-huh.
really, really bothered me because I'm like, I'm not. I love on kids, and it's because of
Yeah.
my experience is why I gravitate to children so much and why I love on them so much, and like I'm a protector of children, but
Right.
he doesn't have any structure over there. And
Um,
then it's the extras, but that I told him, like, I'm like, I come from where it's a village, like it takes all of us,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
I want you to check mine if they in the wrong. I'm gonna
Yeah.
check yours if they in the wrong, so everybody don't see it that way, and I just don't like that. And I think it started in my generation on down because a lot of my peers, they
Mhm.
don't like their kids to be told anything by other people. Also, their families can't tell them anything to do, and that's crazy to me. But
Yeah, it's setting them up for failure because
yes.
then it's like they don't respect you. Okay, so now that you having them not respecting adults, so
Hmm.
I mean, what's gonna happen when they out there in the world? I mean, it's a dog eat dog world. They're gonna chew you up and spit you out. But
Yeah.
I mean, as long as, to me, as long as they're not telling them to do anything wrong,
Right.
we're trying to correct them in a right way and trying to teach them and
Hmm.
give them some kind of guidance, so be it.
Right.
Um, Again, because it'll save our kids. Because nowadays, these kids, like I said, there's no respect for the adults, no respect for themselves either,
Yeah.
but nonetheless, no respect for their parents. And that
Mhm.
causes a problem. And so when their children go into the system as being incarcerated, now they want to scream and they want to holler because their child is incarcerated. But when
Mhm.
Jessica tried to help you with your child, you had an issue with it.
Yeah.
So we have to do better. I mean, we do. We have to do better.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. But I truly appreciate you coming on. So if someone wants to reach out to you for you to come and speak, how can they reach out to you? And how can they follow you on your platforms?
You can reach me for bookings or interviews at bookwithkrissie@gmail.com. And that's I'm sorry, BOOKWITHKRISSIE@gmail.com. And then all of my platforms is Krissie, KRISSIE. And you could put the GOAT, THAGOAT, or it's Krissie _ the number 2 and the letter X. But no matter which one you type in, I'm gonna come up everywhere. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, everywhere.
She said, "I'm everywhere."
I cross
Again,
post as well. So I know some people use TikTok, some people use Facebook, so
right?
I try to cross post on all of my platforms because there's something for everyone. But I be having
Absolutely.
some good content sometimes. I know people don't, like you said, they don't like everything I say, but I be having some good content. I'm very
Yes.
opinionated. I'm not to believe me or take my opinion, but it's there, and it
Yes.
maybe can help you, it maybe can help somebody else.
Absolutely. You keep, like I said, keep doing what you're doing, because it's not going unnoticed. And you're touching other people. So, don't ever think that whatever you're putting out, even because you see little numbers. And I had to learn that too, because I used to get offended until somebody pulled my coattail and said, "Hey," and I get a lot of people in my inbox, even though they didn't respond to what I post, they'll get in my inbox and it says, "Oh, I needed to hear that today," or "Thank you." When I take a hiatus from it and I don't post anything, they're like, "What's wrong? Where you at? You're not posting anything." So
Yeah.
keep doing what you're doing, because,
Thank
like I said, people are watching, and what you're putting and what you're saying is helping other people. You're being that voice where people don't feel like they have no voice to speak, or they're afraid to speak, or they're ashamed about what they've gone through, or even the fear of rejection.
Yeah.
So keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. And like I said, maybe we can do something together in the community. Um, we can brainstorm and see what we can do as far as like even the gun violence or what have you. Let's sit down and brainstorm some stuff. And whatever else that you do for CJ, let me know. And like I said, if I'm available, I'll sure be out there to support, because he was part of the community. He is our baby still. So kudos to you, and continue to be a good grandma, great grandma.
Definitely.
Oh, all right, my love. You have a blessed night, and thank you for coming on, accepting the invite.
Thank
Again,
you.
keep being that voice, and thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good
Yeah.
night.